Eric Paulziner with 9 to 5 Sports, going to be getting into the cash plays here for week 2. One of the most fun videos of each week because all the content for the week and all the thought process for the week is already done. And now we're just kind of capping it off. So I'm excited to get into this. I'm going to be starting off with a chalk cash build. And then I'm going to be getting into kind of the rest of the cash plays that I see fit for this week. And I'm going to be closing it out with my own cash build. So let's get started with that first chalk cash build. And I am starting with the chalk cash build, because typically speaking, like in NFL DFS, if you just chase chalk, especially in cash contests, like you are gaining an advantage on the field, because typically speaking, like it is such a big market that if someone's chalk in NFL DFS, like he's chalk for a reason, and for the most part, it doesn't make sense to really fade them. Okay, I am coming out with an ownership leverage video after this video, so make sure to look for that, because like I will say, like Darrell Henderson compared to Cordero Patterson, like I would say Patterson is just as good of a play in that exact same game. Given the workload that he had, the usage that he had, about the same snap count for both of them, I actually like Patterson a little bit more, gets a little bit more involved in the passing game. Like that could be a small spot to gain some ownership leverage. But for the most part, chasing chalk in NFL DFS, especially in week 1, that was true, you're going to be setting yourself up well. So like Derek Carr, projected to be one of the highest owned quarterbacks on the slate right now. Given that matchup with the Arizona Cardinals, it makes sense. Saquon Barkley, very easy matchup against the Carolina Panthers on paper because the Browns just beat him up. Obviously, he just dominated. Darrell Henderson, who was the RB1 in that Rams offense and really had like a workhorse workload last week. That makes sense. The Falcons did just get gashed on a yards per carry basis. And also, I mean, they did give up like over 200 rushing yards. Just some of that went to Taysom Hill, the tight end. Okay, so like they did get gouged against the running back, although when you look at it on DraftKings, like it's not exactly saying that, like, so we'll click off of him here, go down to 5.7. It's actually ranking out as the 3rd best matchup. That's where, the numbers are lying, because the Falcons did get beat up on the run. So just so you guys know that. Cooper Kupp expected to be the highest projected receiver play on the slate. Now that is where you could also potentially switch it up, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Christian Kirk, 14% projected ownership, or over 10% projected ownership. He's a high ownership play this week, and that makes sense. Our player from last week, Zach Ertz, going to be a little bit high owned as well. He was the last player into this build. Curtis Samuel probably going to be chalk as well. Okay, and then Bengals D. So you guys get the chalk build and the purpose of it. Now let's get into the players that I think are going to be great cash builds and hopefully build out a strong cash lineup for you guys this week. So we'll start off here with the running backs. Now, yes, if you can fit Jonathan Taylor into your builds, obviously I think that you should do that. He's an easy pay-up play going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who he should be able to dominate. We just saw Antonio Gibson have a great game against the Jaguars. We just saw Jonathan Taylor get 31 carries. Looking at the opportunities, guys, just like 38 opportunities in a game. Okay, that is crazy. Even if he gets like 25 opportunities against the Jaguars, he should be able to go out and have a great game. He should be able to score 20 DK points. So if you can afford to pay up for him, you should. But really, the problem with this slate is that, and I'll get into it, there's a bunch of receiver plays that I want to pay up for. And there's a couple of cheaper running back plays that I want to play as well. So it is tougher to fit Jonathan Taylor into a cash build this week. If you find a way to play him, great. That is perfect, but I've been struggling to find a way to play him. Personally, I love going Saquon Barkley. He had that workload. He had the most snaps team percent wise last week, and he basically had an opportunity per snap or per 50% of his snaps last week. So he was involved in the offense a ton. 8 rushing attempts, 7 targets. Obviously 36 DK points is a lot. I don't expect that. But the matchup with the Panthers is one that's intriguing, because Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb just dominated the Carolina Panthers. So Saquon Barkley at 7.3 does seem like he's a little bit too cheap. And even though he's going to be chalky, I really don't mind eating that chalk. The next play I really love is going to be Leonard Fournette, who was that offense. The offense flowed through the Bucs offense flowed through Leonard Fournette. Sorry about that. 2 targets, that's not enough. And if they need him to, he can catch the ball in the backfield. Like that number could go up, but he had 21 rushing attempts, 127 rushing yards. Like that should continue. And at 6.7 to get like the main weapon, I guess in a Tom Brady offense, if you will, like that is intriguing to me. And this game could be, I don't think it will be, but it could be a high scoring game. And either way, at 6.7 to get a workhorse running back like Leonard Fournette, who, prior to his injury last year, was a top 5 running back. And so at 6.7, that's a great price point. Like we are starting this off with 2 running backs that should or could easily get 25 opportunities both. And I love that. That's a great starting point. From there, some other running backs I am looking at would be Cordero Patterson. I already mentioned that. I loved his workload. 22 rushing attempts, 5 targets, so 27 total opportunities at 6K at a game that should be higher scoring. The offense is, he's their number 1 offensive weapon currently. I know Kyle Pitts is there. Don't get mad at me for that. And no Drake London's there. I know Marcus Mariota has been getting it done with his legs, but we saw in week 1, yes, the offense ended up being Cordero Patterson. The offense ended up flowing through Cordero Patterson, and he looked good doing it, okay? The Buffalo Bills just kind of dominated the LA Rams as well. I do expect the Rams to step up and have a better game, but for Cordero Patterson to hit value, it really does not take that much. It could easily be 4 catches for 30 yards and a few rushes, and maybe a touchdown. Like 18 DK points is now the question for Cordero Patterson. At 6K, that is just too cheap, and I have been trying to find a way to play him. I just haven't been able to. And then from there, I do really like Michael Carter at 5.2. The guy had 9 targets last week, and I know a lot of that was game flow. A lot of that was Joe Flacco not being able to see 15 yards down the field, but that shouldn't change. Like, he should still get a decent amount of targets, and this one, like 5 targets or so for 30 yards, like 8 DK points just in the passing game can easily be there for Michael Carter. And at 5.2, if that happens, that is too cheap. Yes, the Cleveland Browns and the Jets, like, their defenses looked pretty good last week, so it could be kind of just a game in which it's low scoring. But at the end of the day, the targets should still be there for Michael Carter. So at 5.2, I am still interested in playing Michael Carter. And if you have to jump down that low in cash purposes, you can. It's more or less a price point in which I want to close out this build because I really like it. Michael Carter would be that player that you are playing them. Now getting into the receivers, guys, this is the tough part about this slate. Like, obviously you want to pay for Cooper Kupp going against the Atlanta Falcons, who just had Jarvis Landry go for over 100 receiving yards in kind of that slot role as well, which is obviously where a lot of Cooper Kupp's routes get ran. Cooper Kupp should be able to dominate. Like, he had 15 targets last week, 13 receptions. He dominated. Okay, touchdown, 34 DK points. We all saw that on Thursday Night Football. I expect Cooper Kupp to have another massive game as well. Like, I want to be able to afford to fit him into my builds, but the problem is I would much rather just pay down for Davante Adams at a significantly cheaper price point. $1,300 cheaper for Davante Adams, who had 17 targets last week, who had 33 DK points, who gets a better matchup than Cooper Kupp. Like, I love that usage, that target share was there more so for Davante Adams than it was for Cooper Kupp. And like, Derek Carr has a much easier matchup. Like, the targets and efficiency should still be there for Davante Adams. So I am much rather playing Davante Adams this week than I am Cooper Kupp, and hopefully that doesn't come to bite me. I do really like Tyreek Hill as well. The offense was designed around Tyreek Hill. The Miami Dolphins offense was, okay? And we saw that happen week 1. 12 targets, 8 receptions, 94 yards, 18 DK points. Okay, he got to 94 yards. If he had 6 more, he would have got that 100-yard bonus, and he didn't even have a touchdown. He still scored 18 DK points. Going against a Baltimore secondary that is banged up, their top 4 starters in their secondary are most likely not going to play in this game. Like, Hill should be able to feast in this game, okay? And we did just see the Baltimore Ravens be more than happy to give up those underneath routes to Michael Carter, to Breece Hall, to Braxton Berrios, to Garrett Wilson, to Elijah Moore a little bit. Corey Davis was a little bit more downfield. But that's a lot where Tyreek Hill operates. And at 7.1 to get a guy at 12K in a very strong matchup, oh my goodness, guys, that is just too hard for me to pass up on. And that is where I'm struggling to play Cooper Kupp. That is very much where I'm struggling to play Cooper Kupp. I will say St. Brown would be a decent cash play, 12 targets last week. Gets a good matchup going against the Washington Commanders. You could play him. Deontay Johnson, once again, 12 targets in his game. I do worry about the Patriots matchup a little bit, but he is going to continue to get peppered. He's under 6K, which I just like to play him until he is priced correctly, and he should be a safe play. Like, I'm perfectly fine with you guys playing him if you want to. Christian Kirk, kind of the same rule as Deontay Johnson, a guy that also had 12 targets, is going to be used a lot in the passing game. Like, I love playing him as well. Those are all guys in which, like, I love Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill a little bit more, but you could perfectly play like one of those or 2 of those guys into a cash build if you want to go that route. Like, I'd be fine with it. Not going to talk you out of that. Jacoby Myers, I think, is still a fine cash play at 6 targets, 10 DK points, 4.4 is a cheap price point for him. But really, the thing that I've been going with a lot in my cash builds currently is Greg Dortch at the value spot. This is a great price point. He had 9 targets in that slot role, and Rondale Moore is most likely out in this one, so we don't even have to worry about that. Greg Dortch was a preseason stud, and so his usage last week was not really shocking to anyone that had played preseason DFS and was following the Cardinals throughout the preseason, because Dortch lit it up. He did, okay? And he should be able to light it up once again this week. 7 receptions, 63 yards last week for 13 DK points. If he even gets us 9 DK points at this price point, I'll be more than happy. And I think he's going to. Obviously, that's a high-scoring game, a game that you want to attack. This is a missed price point, okay? I haven't projected to score 13 DK points once again in this one. I don't know if that's too high. I'd say maybe 11 DK points is kind of the projection that I would go with. But as long as he gets his 9 DK points, that's going to be enough. And at this price point, that should certainly be enough. Such a cheap price point. I'm just going to be playing him there. At tight end, you could really go with a lot of players. Mark Andrews, if you wanted to pay up, if you had the salary left over, you could. Darren Waller going against the Cardinals, who just got destroyed by Travis Kelce, you could do that. I don't mind that. Darren Waller had almost 12 DK points last week. I'm fine with that. Dalton Schultz, 9 targets last week, 13.2 DK points. I'd be fine with you guys playing him. Obviously, Pat Freiermuth just had a good game against them. And if anyone in the offense for Dallas is going to have no effect based off of the quarterback, I think it'd be him. I think his role is going to be the same. His targets are going to be the same. Tyler Higbee, I like a lot in this game, in that Atlanta Falcons game. Okay, they did just get tore up in the passing game. The Falcons did via the Saints. And I know Taysom Hill had a great game, but that was in the rushing category. Okay, so we can't really count on that. But Tyler Higbee played a lot of snaps, the same amount as Allen Robinson. Okay, he was next in line after Cooper Kupp, skill position player-wise. For offensive snaps. 11 targets, 5 receptions, 39 yards, 8.9 DK points. If he just does that, the 8.9 DK points once again, which if he's playing that much in this game, and again, around that many targets, and obviously 8 targets or so, that's just simply too cheap. I just want to play him there. He should be a safe, discounted price point play if those targets are still going to be there for him. And then from there, Tyler Conklin, I've mentioned him so many times already. Probably the player I've mentioned the most thus far this season, it seems like. 3.4 is a cheap price point. 7 targets last week, 4 receptions, played 91% of the offensive snaps for the New York Jets. He's going to be on the field a lot, and he shouldn't get a 0. 6 DK points, hitting value for Tyler Conklin should happen. Is he going to destroy the slate? No, but in a slate where we want to really pay up for studs, he makes a lot of sense, and that's I just been defaulting to that. So let's put Tyler Conklin in there instead of Tyler Higbee. And then from there, I've just been going the Bengals D, obviously with Cooper Rush in there. I don't expect the Dallas Cowboys offense to be crazy good. And so the toughest part about this week has been closing out the build, honestly, guys. Quarterback wise, I love Russell Wilson, but I've been struggling to pay up for him. I do think he has a great chance to be the highest scoring quarterback on the slate. I don't want to go crazy with that. I could see Matthew Stafford being the highest scoring quarterback on the slate. Jameis Winston just dominated. I shouldn't say dominate. The Saints did most of their work in the fourth quarter, but they did end up, having production there. Derek Carr at 6.2 against the Arizona Cardinals. He should be able to go out and have a great game. He was 5 yards away from the 300 passing yard bonus, which would have been a huge or good enough DK day, especially at this price point. But really, I think what we are going with this week is deciding between Carson Wentz in a great matchup against the Detroit Lions, Trey Lance in a great matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, who Trey Lance really didn't play as poorly as everyone was trying to make it seem. 13 rushing attempts, 54 yards on the ground, and still 164 passing yards in a terrible weather game. If he can get to 220 passing yards and maybe a touchdown, that is perfect. That's good enough. We'll take that at that price point. And then Tua going against that Baltimore secondary, that is pretty banged up. I like that as well. Game could be a little bit more high scoring than people are thinking too. I don't mind that as well. You could easily do that too. For now, I'm going Trey Lance. I'm going with that rushing upside. And then we have 5.5 left over in this cash build. What can we do from there? Well, this is kind of where I've been kind of just going with Michael Carter. I don't love that. And another receiver play that I haven't mentioned was Curtis Samuel, and I apologize for this. I definitely should have mentioned this earlier. Curtis Samuel, I absolutely love as well. 11 targets, 8 receptions, 4 rushing attempts. He was Deebo Samuel light. And I also don't mind Deebo Samuel for cash purposes too. But I'm playing Devontae Adams, I'm playing Tyreek Hill, I'm playing Cooper Kupp over Deebo Samuel this week. So just kind of throwing that out there. But yeah, Curtis Samuel at 4.6 is a great price point as well. I am perfectly fine paying him in the flex spot because kind of the way he was used was like I said, Deebo Samuel light. And Deebo Samuel kind of gets used like a running back. There are a lot of manufactured plays that went towards Curtis Samuel. So if that happens again, he should have a nice floor. And this game is supposed to be a little bit more high scoring. So I like Curtis Samuel a lot. And then we have some money left over. Can we pay it for Tyler Conklin or Tyler Higbee then? We can. So a pretty solid cash build there. And I like it. It's very solid. I don't like the fact that we can't play Cooper Kupp, and I don't like the fact that we can't play JT in this build. And I would love to be able to find a way to do that. But for now, I think this is a very, very solid build to start off with. But that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. That helps out the channel a lot, which then helps out you guys a lot. So let's keep that up. I appreciate it. Let's have a good weekend as always, guys. Let's keep cashing.